welcome to the June 2009 video edition of the Iowa General Fund Monthly Revenue Memo. My name is Jeff Robinson, Senior Fiscal Analyst for the Iowa Legislative Services Agency, a nonpartisan agency of the Iowa Legislature. This month's memo covers the fiscal year 2009 timeframe, July 1 through the end of June 2009. Net receipts for the month of June continue the negative trend shown in April and May, falling 13.4% compared to June 2008. This is the third straight month of double-digit declines in net revenue. State general fund revenue has not shown true positive growth for a single month since November. For the month of June, gross revenue fell 4%, while tax refunds increased 47%. The current Revenue Estimating Conference, or REC, projection for 2009 net revenue growth is negative 2.6%. Through June, net revenue growth for the cash year is negative 5.3%, 2.7 percentage points below the estimate. Looking at the entire fiscal year through June 30th, gross revenue increased 3%, somewhat below the REC estimate of 3.9%. This translates to $58 million less gross cash revenue for the year than estimated by the REC. Regular tax refunds are estimated by the REC on a fiscal year basis. The REC refunds estimate of $760 million represents projected growth over fiscal year 2008 refunds of $85 million. Through June 30th, and on a fiscal year basis, refund growth totaled $157 million, $72 million more than the estimate for the entire fiscal year. With 2 months of refunds remaining in 2009, the $72 million refund excess could rise or fall, depending on the amount of refunds issued in the months of July and August this year. The REC estimate for school infrastructure refund transfers is $357 million for the entire fiscal year. Through June 30th, a total of $350 million has been transferred. There are 2 more transfers from the general fund that will occur and be charged to fiscal year 2009, and those should total $38 million. This will bring school infrastructure transfers for the entire fiscal year to $388 million, $31 million above the REC estimate for the entire fiscal year. Combining the 3 numbers, the $58 million gross cash shortfall, the $72 million in refunds issued above the estimate, and the above estimate $31 million in school infrastructure refund transfers, the general fund net revenue shortfall through June 30th is $161 million. Please note 2 important considerations related to the $161 million. First, this estimate relates only to general fund revenue. Expenditures can also be higher or lower than assumed for fiscal year 2009. Expenditure adjustments will also impact the state's balance sheet for fiscal year 2009. The monthly general fund revenue memo does not address expenditures. And note also, the $161 million is not a projection of where the revenue side of the state balance sheet will end for fiscal year 2009. It is a calculation of how far behind the estimate fiscal year 2009 net revenues were through June 30th. The actual revenue shortfall could be lower or it could be higher, depending on how the remaining gross receipts and refund transactions compare to the same time frame of the previous fiscal year. If accrued revenue in July, August, and September exceeds the same period in fiscal year 2008, or if refunds are lower in July and August, the $161 million shortfall will shrink. If the opposite situations occur, the $161 million shortfall will grow. The net revenue graph on the front page of the memo shows that net revenue has declined compared to fiscal year 2008 in 8 of the 12 months of the fiscal year. December, April, May, and June were particularly poor months. Gross personal income tax declined 8.9% for June and finished the cash year at negative 0.9%. The REC estimate for personal income tax is positive 0.1%, so this revenue source is now below projection by 0.8 of a percentage point. Gross sales and use tax for June was 12.6% growth, due in large part to the local option school infrastructure tax change made last July. That former local option tax now flows through the state general fund and flows back out through a refund appropriation. So for the year, gross sales and use tax was expected to be significantly higher, but the increase has much more to do with the change in accounting than it does in revenue growth. Gross sales and use tax revenue was up 16.4% for the cash year, 1.3 percentage points below the REC estimate of 17.7%. The monthly memo also provides two basic economic indicators. Iowa non-farm employment was down 43,900 jobs in May compared to May 2008, using numbers without seasonal adjustment. The top line in the graph shows the last 10 years of the non-farm series using a 12-month average. The 12-month average peaked in the fall of 2008. The lower line presents Iowa non-farm employment as a percent of total U.S. non-farm employment. Although Iowa has experienced significant job declines in recent months, the U.S. economy has been having even more trouble, so Iowa's share of total U.S. employment has been increasing for more than a year now. An official U.S. recession started 17 months ago in December 2007. During and after the 2001 recession, Iowa's employment dropped 38,800 jobs, peak to trough, calculated off a 12-month moving average of the unadjusted non-farm series. Since peaking in October of 2008, this 12-month Iowa average has fallen 14,900 jobs, and this statistic is accelerating. The Consumer Price Index, the more volatile line on this chart, peaked at an annual rate of 5.6% in June 2008, driven up by high costs of fuel. The economic slowdown has dropped the inflation rate significantly, and the annual rate is now negative 1.3%, an inflation rate not experienced since the 1950s. A less volatile inflation calculation is the core CPI, an inflation gauge that excludes food and energy prices. That rate has also been declining and is now reported at 1.8% positive growth. The condition of the state general fund is important not only to members of the Iowa House and the Iowa Senate, but to all residents of Iowa. I thank you very much for your interest and encourage you to join our mailing list to receive automatic monthly email notifications when a monthly memo has been posted. Goodbye and have a great day. Thank you.